I guess we're live now.
Oh, perfect.
I'm trying to figure out all this technology stuff because it's really complicated. It's super easy when I've done it before with just my own Facebook page and going live, because you just like hit one button. And then now that we're all stuck at home and I have like ADD and miss everybody, I was like, I gotta start like interviewing people. I have to find a reason, and also a reason to do my hair like at least one day a week, and put on makeup so I feel like a human, because it really doesn't make sense to try to like curl my hair or do any of those things any other day of the week.
Totally.
Yeah. But the technology component has been like a real fun, crazy thing. So anyhow, here we are on Zoom Live, integrating
I put on heels today. You can't see them, but they're there.
Oh, good for you, girl.
Oh my God.
I'm done from here up. I still have the slippers on, so you win.
Oh my God, you're so glam. That's amazing. Okay, everybody tuning in, welcome to the Event Industry Facebook Live. I'm so excited to be joined by two amazing event industry folks, Miss Laura and Tani. They're wedding professionals that have their own businesses. And I thought it would be a great opportunity to kind of get a perspective on like where things have been going with like weddings right now in the industry, how everything's been affected, and then just talk about some fun stuff, maybe some event trends that we're excited about, and fun things for the future as it pertains to weddings. So I'm just gonna have you guys introduce yourself, the name of your business, if someone wants to follow you, where they can follow you, and maybe a little bit about the clients that you serve. Tani, I'll have you take it away.
Sure. Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. For those celebrating, it is Good Friday. But yeah, my name is Tani. I am owner of Ivy Weddings and Events, and we service San Diego and Santa Barbara areas, actually. And our, clients that we serve, we like to call them, our services are for the gypsy souls and lavish hearts. So what that really means is, we love clients that kind of have this adventurous spirit, that love to have their outdoor weddings, but also like the finer things in life, like a great menu, a really great bar. So those are kind of the ideal clients that we love to serve and kind of include with our services, but full planning, events, and design.
Fantastic. Well, I know you have a keen eye for attention to detail from our previous years from experience working together, and another world that you are doing catering with. So I'm sure that you bring that same attention to the clients that you serve. So I'm excited to have you here today. Laura, you want to tell us a little bit about your business and the clients that you serve?
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. Good morning. This is such a fun experience for me and so different. I was texting Jen this morning, like, get me online. I'm so nervous. I'm totally fine talking to all the people in the world, but the technology part is so new for me. So it's fun to be here. I wish I could see everybody's face and give everybody high fives and hugs and do all the things.
Happy birthday, by the way. Happy, I think
thank you.
All of us that have had birthdays during quarantine, we need to have like a giant party.
I'm in. Yes.
We should start planning that now because it needs to be pretty epic since we've had to forego birthday celebrations. So happy birthday.
Totally. Thank you. My husband and I drove around in our car and just like honked at all of our friends and family all day. So I told everybody, I was like, yeah, but I was on a party bus all day and we were just, visiting everybody. It was great.
Totally normal now.
My company is Serendipity Events, and we are a wedding planning and design company. We do dabble into other social events as well. So we have a handful of nonprofit clients that we work with, both on the planning side and also just the design side throughout the year, which is super fun. Nonprofit events is actually how I very originally got started in the event world. So it was always really important for me to keep that as part of my business. So we do have a handful of those clients as well, but we are like 95% weddings in San Diego area. And We actually work with about 85% of our clients working from a distance. So while Facebook Live is not necessarily what I'm used to, I am used to working pretty virtually with our couples. We get a lot of people just from, that are coming here to San Diego. They either grew up here, they went to school here, they got engaged here. So we've planned with couples everywhere from LA all the way to Baghdad.
Wow.
And so it's pretty fun to, just bring people to San Diego, kind of be the knowledge here on the ground and get to meet people from literally all over the world. So I've had my company for a little over 10 years. I'm planning for even longer than that. And yeah, I'm live and breathe it. So I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I have seen your creative, all the amazing weddings that you put together too. And I'll link to your guys' hashtags again after this video, but I think people should definitely see the creative designs that both of you guys have come up with. I get so inspired by wedding planners or weddings in general, because I do mostly corporate, which they don't want to do anything fun sometimes. So sometimes I live vicariously through weddings, although I don't do weddings. So I'd love to see the amazing tablescapes you guys come up with in decor elements, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So obvious, like the elephant in the room about like what's going on with everybody's like businesses and events that have been impacted by the COVID-19. I think for me personally, it's changing on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis where it's like, okay, and then it's like not okay. And there's definitely been a lot of peaks and valleys and more valleys. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about, for you guys' own personal experiences, what's kind of transpired with your wedding clients, and how are you managing, being a business owner during this time? I know that's a kind of a difficult question, but maybe some of the challenges you've come through, or even some of the positive elements, either one.
Sure. It kind of hit like a ton of bricks right in the beginning. And to be really honest, you're talking about the corporate side. When this very first started, I remember thinking, oh man, to be on the corporate side of the industry right now must be really hard. I remember I work really closely with Jill at To Be Designed, and I remember talking to her within the first literally 72 hours of this going through, and she was just being impacted minute by minute, and we were talking kind of through the whole thing, and I was listening to a lot of the people on the corporate side going, oh man, things are canceling into June already in this, and I'm like, oh well, gosh, thank goodness I'm in weddings, because we're all over here sticking strong. And then literally overnight, I think the world just shifted. Mm-hmm. And the greatest impact for me, I think, is that we are planners. This is what we do, and we plan for the good, the bad, the ugly, the hard, the unexpected. And part of what I talk through with my team when we're talking about day of, or when I'm training, or we're going through different, processes for events in general, I tell them, I want you to think about every possible scenario that can happen on event day. And right. I want you to think about everything that could go wrong and everything that could go right and everything that might shift your plan A, and have a solution for that ready to go by the time we get on site, so that if any of those things happen, it might be a bummer and we might have to shift everything, but we have it under control. And I think that's a huge piece of what we do as planners. And the hardest part for me, and then being a type A OCD person on top of it, is like, yes. No, right I have no control and I have no answers, and we're in such unfamiliar territory that we can't even think about all the different scenarios to then be prepared for them. So, I was, some of my clients I'm still working with in late summer and fall, and we're saying, okay, let's just push through. Let's keep planning. Let's keep things business as usual. And it was like, okay, let's confirm with this caterer. So I reached out to that caterer to confirm a couple days ago, And the response was, hey, we've all been let go. I can't help you right now.
Yeah.
So now we've even hit this other shift where it's like, we're having a hard time planning in the current for the clients that we think are still going to happen. So for me, that's been the hardest, is not having all the solutions, not having all the answers. And so really it's just a little bit of that stress management, which we also are prepared for, to just say, we've got you, whatever this is going to look like, we'll be here for you to figure it out with you. We might not have all the answers right now, but we're working on it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was something that we talked about. I talked about with Jill and Jennifer a couple weeks ago too, is that like we are like the worst case plan, like we this is what we train for, but even still there's moments where you're just like, shit, like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Like, even if I could imagine the bottom of the floor like falling out beneath me, doesn't mean it's cool. Like, doesn't mean I'm like, you know, smiling my way through this.
Right.
I mean, maybe client facing for sure, but on the back end, you're like, I don't know, like, what do we do? And I wrote about this in an email post, email that I sent out this week too, is basically what you were saying, Laura, is that like the element of like not being so type A too, and that's why I'm a planner. That's actually why I own my own business, because I'm so type A and I like to be in control, and not knowing, okay, we've gone to worst case scenario, like what does that plan look like? And you're like,
Right.
you know, like, does that look like August? Is it September? Like,
Right.
who knows? Is Comic-Con gonna happen this year? Like, is that gonna be the first public event? Like, what is, you know, not even knowing. I think that lack of idea of like, okay, if we just weather the storm through April, then we're okay. But I think it's
Right.
not knowing. And you hit upon something else that I've actually experienced too, where I have clients that are moving forward with October events, trying to sign a contract with a hotel, and we're basically get shuffled to one next person, and they've done a really good job of like making sure the emails are getting forwarded, but it's been a kind of a tricky thing to push through, because I've had to explain concessions that were made like two catering managers ago,
Sure.
that now need to still get included, and we're still negotiating and everything else. So that is definitely a challenge I faced as well.
And I think that's where we can be proactive too, to know, okay, we might not know when this is all going to like return to normal. And by normal, who knows what that normal is going to look like.
Yeah.
But how can we be prepared when it does start again, right? So, because, you know, you're now having to go back, talk about those concessions, you know, bring these new people up to speed. And then the hope is all these people that are currently laid off will then come back to their jobs and be able to pick up, you know, where we all left off. And there's going to be some, I guess, consequences from all of this, and some things that now all those people are going to have to play catch up again. And as planners, I think we're going to have to just be very patient with people and have some grace in that we're probably going to have to tell our story 75 times.
Yeah.
Because there's so, you know, we're sort of being ping pong balled around at the moment, you know, trying to keep our events going as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, and I definitely think that's hard too, because to touch base on that, it's like, who knows if those people are going to go back to that same position too.
Yeah.
You know, people that we've worked with in different companies might move on themselves and find a different job. So again, you're kind of starting from, you know, point A again with the process. And, you know, I think just everything's really being pushed back right now. I had a little bit of a saving grace where I've been on maternity leave. So, you know, I really didn't plan to take on events till late summer, fall anyway. However, of course, we're seeing a huge, you know, shift. Bless you. And, you know, everything's really being pushed back. I have clients that are still looking for their venue for October that they can't even see a venue that they're interested in. It's a virtual tour of the space, which as a bride and groom, you know, obviously we do plan weddings from afar, but you're going to want to see the space. You want to feel that. You want to look at it. You want to picture yourself in your ceremony spot, or, you know, dancing on the dance floor. And to see it virtually sometimes just isn't going to, you know, do it for you. So it's really kind of a guessing point, you know, and this is so new for everyone. We've all been through recession times and we've bounced back, right? But this is something that globally we're all suffering from, and it creates this unknown that is a little scary. And, you know, I think, Laura, to touch base on your point too, is that people look to us to kind of have all the answers, right? And sometimes we don't. But I think the best thing that we could do as planners and educators in this industry is really be people's kind of strong point and be confident in what we're doing and be honest right now. You know, hey, I know you're looking to get a catering proposal right now, but the truth is we might not get it for a month. We might not do a tasting till late summer, and your weddings in the winter. So there might be different, you know, items on your menu that you're going to be able to taste. So those things, is being upfront and honest with clients from the beginning right now, I think is just huge, and just kind of having that sense of confidence and communication with them.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's sometimes our challenge just in a normal circumstance, and it can be super frustrating when you're like, okay, great, you're like the third person I work with on this event, and let's bring you up to speed again on all the things. So yeah, a deep breath on patience for that. Well, yeah, I mean, I think that is definitely kind of the obvious thing of what's going on right now. Are there like words of wisdom that you guys are offering for any of your clients right now, or just kind of advice that you're giving them? I know for myself, one of the things that I'm just telling clients that you know, if anything's been pushed out of spring or summer, to book their venues for the fall or the winter. Even a client that I was talking to about a holiday party in December, they wanted it on a Saturday. They're a super large group. And so my advice to them a few weeks ago was just make sure that they book it. I offered the advice of having a contingency plan or concession added, that if they needed to reschedule, if something happened that for some reason they were not going to go through with it, they need to reschedule a year out, that there would not be a fee attached to that, like there usually is for hotel spaces. So that's kind of some advice that I've given some of my corporate clients, is like, if you're going to book this year, get your venue, especially if it's a Friday or Saturday, because those places are going to be gone. Like, we're not going to be hunkered down for forever, and life will go on. We'll get through this like we've seen other countries do. But as soon as that's lifted, like, people are going to get married, and, you know, things are going to go back to a new normal, and the venues are not going to be available. So what kind of advice are you guys offering some of your clients that are planning for next year?
I mean, I think that's a huge one for me too, because I think that's one of the biggest things I have taken away from a lot of vendors, is that everybody's feeling a little bit anxious about what fall and winter of 2020 and moving into 2021 is going to look like. Not only that people who were originally planning on those later dates are now limited in what is going to be available, but everybody's trying to accommodate for all these shifts. And so where somebody might only typically take X amount of events in a day, depending on the vendor, they're now saying, okay, you know what, we're just going to accommodate, we're going to go for it. We're going to have all these back-to-back events, and it's just going to be crazy. So I think people are willing to work extra hard and more hours and go the extra mile to make all of this happen. But dates are going to get booked up way faster, and people, I think, are going to be stretched a little bit more thin than they normally would. So yes, get your dates now. I think having those contingencies is really important, Jen. And then in just all of the shifting, one thing I am trying to tell my clients is lean on us. And even for my clients, you know, we have a few different packages that we offer. So some of our clients are a final details package, which technically means we don't really jump into full force planning until about 6 weeks out, versus our clients that might be full service, where we are talking to them every single day. Even with those people who have the final details package, my communication with them has been, let me help you through this. I'm not just going to say, well, you're not within your 6 weeks, so have fun, you know, figuring out COVID on your own. Because we can help navigate some of that. And while weddings are already so emotionally driven, this is even more so. And so to offer them an avenue to say, let me navigate this, let me talk to your vendors, because my conversation will probably be 5 minutes while yours will probably be 50. So let me help put those pieces together for you, figure out the best solution. That way I can then go back to them and say, okay, look, your hair and makeup stylist is not available on your, but here are 5 people who are, and I've already reached out to those people. I've already found a solution. And then the last piece I'll say for clients specifically is, if they are having to shift, we've been doing basically a priority list of vendors. So not that one vendor is better or worse than the other, but every couple typically will have their non-negotiable vendors, venue, of course, being the top. And then from there, we kind of go, okay, who are your must-haves? And, you know, because we're working with sometimes 10, 15 vendors on one wedding, chances are every single person's not going to be available. So let's figure out, who are your have-to-haves? What do you have to have on your wedding day? Who are the people that you cannot let go of? And then if other people are not available, how can we work with them and shift and sort of, you know, puzzle piece it together? But I think just having them rely on us is honestly the biggest piece. Because at least we're having conversations like this, right? You know, they don't know what all the other vendors are doing. They don't know how people are managing the business side of it, and we can help navigate that for them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Those are great pieces of advice. Thanks. I just took a couple notes because I do want to share this with everybody. I think as event professionals, whether we're doing weddings, I mean, a lot of this translates to, you know, how do you keep engaged, like from a business owner perspective, like how do you keep engaged with your client versus just saying like, I don't know.
Right.
Still not good. We're still locked down. So how you doing?
Still here in my bedroom having meetings with people.
Cool, right? You know, but how do you like send them stuff that's a little bit more proactive, or just even piece of advice or stuff like that. So those are great pointers. Even just in general of like, you know, I've maybe you want to send something out as like a mass email to your email list of like, hey, here's how we're supporting clients. You know, here's where we can be of a support to you. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Tawny, how about you? Are there elements that you are kind of advising some of your clients, especially during this difficult time? I mean, I know you were planning for maybe summer or fall, but I'm sure you're having to reassure them of some things and be extra supportive.
Definitely. And I think one of the biggest things that we all have to do is kind of be people's cheerleaders. You know, we have to stay positive even when we feel like sometimes our business on the back end is failing and we're not having a good day. You know, I definitely see almost like the excitement of wedding planning in some couples like die a little bit, which is so sad, right? Because this is a really exciting time, a really exciting moment for people. And I think you just kind of have to keep that positivity up. I also just kind of advising people, obviously, to be flexible. If you had your heart set on a date, what are you going to be okay with you not getting that certain date at a certain venue, or not having that vendor you really loved book, but having something comparable to that still be on your wedding day team? I think also, having your core vendor team is really important. A lot of people like to procrastinate and make decisions, and this is just a time that I advise we can't really be doing that. So just kind of move forward as best we can, and book your core vendor team, have a little bit of flexibility, obviously compassion, and I think all of us are kind of dealing with it together and just kind of being on the same team.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I think it's so relatable if you were planning your wedding to just be like, this means it's all doomed, like I mean, probably one of the reasons why it's hard for me to relate to weddings just because like there is so much emotion and so much stress that goes into it that people are like, there's so much pressure for that one day. It's so important, where as corporate, it's a little bit less. I mean, obviously there's a financial thing and like that's like a whole nother element, but I feel like it can manage that stress of like, hey, are we going to make this successful financially or marketing wise? Then like, this is the one day I'm going to get married, hopefully my entire life, so nothing can go wrong or it's going to be awful. So I can relate to those clients that are just like really probably devastated, and it's going to take a long time to get over the grief of having it maybe not work out as perfectly as people have envisioned, and that's a hard thing to if someone has this picture in their mind of what it's going to look and feel like, and all of a sudden like that's so out of reach, like how do you contend with that?
And I think keeping them excited, honestly. Full disclosure, one of our clients that had to rebook, I honestly think when all of this went down, they were supposed to get married late March. And so they were really at the beginning of all of this. And had they not been out of so much money financially with cancellation fees, I'm not sure that they would have rebooked. I think they felt like, look, this was our wedding day. They still got married on their wedding day. They had somebody officiate and they legally got married.
Oh, wow.
And some of our other clients we have one client who was planning for a year. They now, because of venue issues and all of this, they are now having to push to May. They were an April client of ours, and they're having to push to May of 2021.
Yeah.
That's a long time to be engaged. And like
so long.
Everything is planned. Yeah. So now they're like, okay, we've switched all of our vendors over. Now we're just still here engaged for the next 12 months again.
Right.
And they were like in the home stretch, ready to just party with their friends and have a great time.
Yeah.
And so it's already so important to me and in my business and with my team that we take away that stress and that wedding planning is fun. Like the worst thing somebody could say to me is like, I just want my day to be here. I just want this to be over with. Like, that's not what it's about. It should never be that. Yeah. It should be a super fun experience from start to finish. And the wedding day is this like grand finale that is something so special.
Yeah.
So now how do we take those clients who were ready for that and say, okay, let's keep this a really exciting thing for the next X amount of months, so that you're still arriving on that day. And while that day might be different, it's still just as exciting. And I think that's going to be something that we have to consciously pay attention to as planners, because the bulk of their work is done. And now we have all these other couples who were going to be in, the thick of their planning, and to not pay attention to all the people that have been affected. And I think that it's going to take a really conscious effort to keep that momentum going and that fun going, and that they're not just a rebooking client, right?
Yeah. No, it's such a good point. I mean, it's going to take a lot of energy to get through the rest of this year.
Totally.
So much coffee and so much wine.
Yeah.
Well, talking about some fun stuff, and talking about some event trends, are there some wedding trends that you guys are excited about this year that maybe you're doing with a client, or maybe you're looking for that, looking to maybe propose it to a client. I know I come up with a lot of fun ideas, and I'm just like waiting for that client to be like, I want to do this kind of event. You're like, oh my God, I'm so excited. I wanted to do a flower wall for an event. So yes, here you are.
Yeah, I had one this year, and I think we need to start the conversation on this topic, being now that it's legal and in California, it's cannabis weddings, and how to incorporate that into your celebration. You know, a lot of venues don't know the answer to that question. Do you allow cannabis weddings? So I think it's a topic that's so new and very interesting. I mean, whether you're incorporating it into your specialty cocktail, or having an edible bar, or doing it as party favors, I think I know it's a little out there and wild, but I'm dealing with a client that's wanting a cannabis wedding this year, and it's a new trail for me to explore, and it's a new topic, and I think that it's not going anywhere, and you might be seeing a lot more in different celebrations, or Jen, with your corporate clients, you know, so you never know.
She's like, please no. Don't give them an edible bar.
My reaction to that before was only personal. I'm like, oh my God, if I have like, I don't want to see myself like engaging with an edible bar. Like, I tried edibles like years ago at a Jack Johnson, I'm dating myself, at Jack Johnson concert, UCSD, like literally 500 years ago, with Ben Harper, and I got lost like from my friends after eating a cookie, and was like terrified. It felt like 2 hours, and it literally was 20 minutes that I couldn't find my friend. So I think I'm still, years later, you know, it's kind of like, you know, you have like one of those liquors that you had a bad night with, and you're like, no more tequila for me. I'm good. It's kind of like that. It's like that Jack Johnson concert and that peanut butter cookie was not So, but I agree with you, Tani. They're not going away. I think it is definitely something that's going to be incorporated. You know, you could get, it's just like if you're going to get intoxicated with alcohol or an edible, like it, you know, and it's legal and available, it definitely should be something that's incorporated. But then I was my second laugh was also about, most of my clients are like biotech clients, and sometimes they even want like hard alcohol there because they're too concerned. So I don't think it's a far stretch where I'm like,
you don't see that in your future anytime soon.
Like, do you want custom brownies that are also edibles too? We can put your logo on it. It's gonna be great.
It could happen. Snake oil is gonna be coming up with you know, THC cocktails now.
Oh, are they really?
No, I'm just saying, I could see them doing something like that.
Oh my God, I should have them on the show next, and they should be doing that. Yes.
Yeah, have them on to teach us all some delicious at-home cocktails.
Yeah, right?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I also, to kind of pair with that question, I also think a shift in, you know, micro weddings and elopements. I think people might kind of have a scare from everything going on, and you're going to see a lot of weddings maybe just reducing their size, kind of having those intimate celebrations of under 100 people, you know, 75 and under, getting a lot of 50-person micro weddings that still want to have, you know, an amazing day with that, you know, excellent food and beverage, and kind of more pay attention to the details of their weddings and just being with their closest friends and family. I think that's going to be a big trend that you're going to see too in the next year. That's
a good point too. Yeah, because I think it'll be interesting to see like what are there going to be regulations on group sizes? Like, are we going to scale back up, or like, I think nobody has an idea of like what the point is going to be when we have a feeling of like, okay, it's safe to like leave your home and go to work beyond just essential businesses. But is there going to be, you know, an ordinance kind of how they started this in the beginning of March, where it was like groups under 250 or something like that. And then it just kept going down and down and down. are we going to use the same trajectory in reverse? So yeah, our groups for weddings or even corporate are going to be restricted in size for some amount of time.
I think to that, one thing that I would not be surprised about is new rules and regulations and standards as far as cleanliness of how people are responding to all of this in that realm, right? So I feel like a few years ago, there was that wave of people becoming, buildings becoming LEED certified, and there's the whole trend of green weddings and how to be sustainable. I think we may see people really putting their foot down and saying, okay, like, we're willing to have this conference, we're willing to come to this conference, or we're willing to have a 200-person wedding, or host a 200-person wedding, or whatever that the angle is, but how are you keeping us safe and clean? I mean, I think that's going to be a real thing, and people may look at, I think rental companies are going to be looked at very closely. I mean, even linen companies, people are using reusable napkins and couches and chairs that are constantly being used from one day to the next. What is that going to look like for some of the vendors in that avenue? I know a few of the rental companies have put out emails just about how they are, deep cleaning their furniture, what that process looked like, at least in the beginning when things were still going out.
Yeah.
The gap between coming back from an event to going to an event became a little bit longer, so they had more time to do more of a deep clean than maybe a standard clean that they were used to.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are going to be questions that probably we as planners get of, okay, you're recommending all of these companies, well, how do they deal with this piece of it? We're going to invite 200 of our closest family and friends. What does the venue do to keep its space clean? Because I think even when we are like all released into the world again, I know my own personal experience. I mean, gosh, going to the grocery store the other day, I came home and I am not a germaphobe. I literally had to take a shower because I just felt like our world is dirty, right? Like we kind of have that in our head right now. And so, if I myself am thinking I feel a little bit uncomfortable going out into the world and touching things, and that's going to be a real thing, I think. And so how do we kind of put that out there to present to people, hey, we're thinking about this.
Yeah.
And I think social might be a little bit different, just in that they feel like, oh, it's our people, so it's not as big of a deal. Maybe you might see that a little bit stronger on the corporate side of things, that people are going to ask those questions.
Yeah. I think that's a great point, and something I've also talked about with other colleagues is just there's going to need to be like this reassurance, whether it's via communication or even like forward facing. And we talked about it from a catering aspect. I plan to interview a catering company in a couple weeks to talk about like, okay, what's going to be like a new thing, and new as planners, we're going to communicate back to our clients, like, here's your reassurance, because we kind of came up with the same sentiment of like, we're all suffering a little bit of trauma, and there's going to be a little PTSD of like, okay, now I don't need to wear gloves and a mask and sanitizer and like all these extra cleanliness, take a shower after your thing, sort of elements that we're all like experiencing. And then to go back, you're not going to go back to the complete normal right away. Maybe it'll be a distant memory, a few years from now, but I think there's going to be an element of that experience kind of ingrained in us for a bit as we go into social settings, especially into an event where we don't know everybody. It's not like our friends and family. Maybe it's not just our coworkers sort of experience. And talked about maybe having to eliminate buffets, or maybe not even having tray passed items from a food and beverage standpoint. There might be a lot of different things that need to come into play for food service that are going to be like, have to get pretty creative so people don't feel like there's like an element of cross contamination, aside with like maybe all people wearing gloves, sanitized things, stations available, you know, all those things. But I think we're going to need to be proactive in our presentation so it's obvious in the experience, but then also in the communication too.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that all shakes down, or what we end up kind of coming up with as planners and as food and beverage entities, or even as rental companies that you were saying too. I mean, that's a great point as well. Well, to that point, is there another event trend that's fun idea that you're excited about, Laura?
I mean, I think it's always a trend, but I'm always just about keeping it as personal as possible, especially with weddings. For me, my favorite venue is a residential or a private estate. I love kind of getting that blank canvas and having to get super creative. We've got a couple of them this year that I'm really looking forward to. And, you know, it's funny, I was having a conversation again with Jill the other day, and we are designing a wedding together in August, hopefully. And one of the things that we're talking through is centerpieces and the fact that it's a family style dinner. And so we're really trying to get creative and potentially even kind of stepping away from a centerpiece and shifting the budget a little bit and doing some really creative different things with you know, the just plateware and shifting things, because as you drop family style service, all of a sudden half the time your centerpieces get off the table because space isn't always considered. And I think as a planner, where I'm always trying to push the design and push the mind even, is to just not be tunnel vision to one thing, and continue to grow my mind into thinking about every single element and every single piece that's coming into the day, and making sure that every single thing that is affecting the day is also speaking to one another. So how can we do something really amazing to showcase the food and the service of that as part of the centerpiece, and shift the tablescape to, you know, our dinnerware and doing something really cool. And I think making that experience as a whole, you know, we've seen this in the wedding side of things for a few years now unfold, where, Tani, to your point, I do think we're seeing this kind of decrease in guest count, but not necessarily budget, because honestly, people want their Instagrammable moments. They're putting more of their budget into some of the fluffier stuff and saying, okay, we're going to have less people, but it's going to be that much more fabulous for those people that we really, really care about. And so how to really make this a cohesive experience, and to take us from, you know, step one of driving onto property all the way through to driving off property at the end of the night, and how the whole event is just completely cohesive and really married to one another, to be honest.
So poignant.
I did not have that planned out. Was not in my notes.
No, I like to no, it was just well put. I mean, I think there are a lot of fun things to explore decor wise, but I think this might just mean maybe you don't have 300 people and you have 100 people at your wedding, and that actually might even open up. I mean, I think it's hard to find a venue that you can hold that many people, like 300 people, and make it feel, you know, special, and not like so like a ballroom, you know. And corporate clients like struggle with this too, is that like they're like, we have like 500 people and, you know, we want something creative. You're like, that's not, there's limited places where you can get 500 bodies like together, have a party, and also just make it personal. or personalize it from a corporate standpoint or personalize it from a wedding standpoint. So maybe that there's I feel like there's sometimes an opportunity from my standpoint with corporate clients that are looking at maybe just a group of 200. I'm like, if you have 200, I can give you a much bigger list of venues. We can do a lot more with just 200 people. It's a lot less to feed 200 people than it is to feed 500 people. It's really expensive to feed 500 people.
Yes.
Very true.
So,
and I think, Jen, sorry to piggyback off that, on the other end of the spectrum, I think it's really challenging to find a space that feels intimate for those micro style of weddings. So when you have 50, 60 people, you're still booking a venue that kind of has that 150 person plus, space for. And I think we're lacking some of those locations here, to be honest. I think they're challenging to find, because you're going to find spaces that are smaller, maybe that are great for like a bridal shower or a baby shower. But when you kind of get to that midpoint of 75 people, 50 people, again, I think it's challenging for that to feel intimate as well.
Yeah, such a good point. All right, lastly, I wanted to ask if there's any local businesses that you guys want to promote. I feel like the success that we've had building each other up or promoting each other, and there's been so much of that in our San Diego community, and I love it, and I want to just embrace it and keep doing it more. There's catering companies promoting other catering companies, and there's, we're promoting rental companies, and I think as an industry, we will all get through this. I mean, we're coming out with some scrapes and bumps and bruises for sure. Hopefully not some broken arms. But I think one way to kind of weather the storm is just by like finding opportunities to highlight other businesses that we love, whether it's maybe it's not industry related, maybe it's something else that you're just really passionate about. But I feel like the more that we can promote one another, the more success that we'll experience along the way. So is there anyone you guys want to promote?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just give a little list of people that have sort of been in my cheering corner throughout all of this. Jill, obviously, I've mentioned a few times with To Be Designed. She's one of my dearest friends, and kind of everything just from talking about life in quarantine with little kids to, keeping the business going and encouraging each other to have the days to step away if we need to step away, and have the days to push through and come up with new and fresh ideas has been huge. Brooke Ziegler Photography has been huge. She's doing a lot of fun resources for people, just different classes to take while you're at home, learn how to take cool iPhone photos, things like that. She is doing the Front Door Project, which has been fun.
Oh, I think I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. So she'll come and literally do a little drive-by, stay in the street. You can jump on your porch with your family and get some fun pictures taken, which is fun. And she's been really great with just rebooking clients, offering, support to even I've had clients that are having challenges with other photographers, and she's the first one to step up and say, just have them contact me. Let me talk to them. No, no fee, no strings attached. We all just want to be here for each other. So they've been huge supporters. I will say Aisle Planner from a wedding perspective has been great with honestly emails every single day of different blogs, resources for future business, for current suggestions. Honeybook is another one that's doing a lot for people. And Minted is another that has been phenomenal to my clients. Anybody who has purchased their paper goods through Minted, if they have to rebook, they're doing some incredible discounts to just get the word out there to their guests for reprinting. Right. All personalized. The contact I have over there that I've been talking to, she's like, look, to be honest, we don't have a system for this yet. Just have your clients email me directly and we're going to figure it out with them. So it's been really humbling to see, real small businesses and real large businesses just figure it out together and sort of humble together and be talking over one another. and, you know, being an ally with everybody. You know, Lindsay Dean is another planner, and she and I have talked quite a few times, and there's been moments where it's like, hey, my client booked on a date that I'm no longer available. Can we figure this out together? Because I need her to have a great, you know, I need this couple to have a great planner, and I can't help them anymore. And so to just, you know, be open to these amazing people, share resources. But those are kind of been my people that have kept me sane through all of this.
I like it. Your tribe is good.
It is.
It's a good one.
And I think right now we are all in this together, you guys. And if you haven't yet, you know, you have people in your corner, reach out to them. Just send them a text. Just be like, hey, how are you? Or like, how was your day? And, you know, it might not be the best answer, but at least you're letting them know that you're thinking of them. We have nothing more than time right now. So I think that we could all take the time to just kind of reach out to your people and just say hi to them and just say, I hope you're having a good day. And just kind of right now more than ever is really preaching that community over competition that we always all kind of circle ourselves around. And I think that's really important in a time like this. You know, for me, Sam White, he's a DJ San Diego is huge. I mean, he is always positive. He's like, hey, do you need diapers? I'm at the store right now, you know? So like to have someone like that while, you know, my husband's off to work, it's just nice to know that he's like, can I bring you soup or something like that is really sweet. And just to having more than just, you know, someone you work with, but having a personal relationship with people. You know, Kimberly Buffington with Flower Child San Diego is another vendor that, you know, I not only work with her at, you know, the catering company I worked with, but on a personal level with my business. And she's kind of always has your back no matter what. And, you know, when you feel like your creative bubble has popped, she'll come in with just even better ideas. And you're like, all right, I'm getting back going again. So that's always nice to have someone on your team. And then Sue Hare Hadar, I mean, is someone that a lot of us know, and she's just, with Refined by Sue Hare, has really kind of kept the community together. If you haven't joined one of her Zoom meetings, I highly encourage it. Tomorrow we're doing a Cards Against Humanity Zoom meeting at 7:30, I believe. So check that out. But it keeps, you know, people saying it keeps the conversation going, and she makes us all get together on Mondays, which, you know, isn't my favorite day of the week, and still talk about it and be productive in a time like this. So
yeah. No, that's great. I love following her stuff on Instagram. She always posts great, encouraging stuff and insightful things, and she's a great resource as a colleague in the business too. So I think I need to have her on here and interview her about what she's got going on, because it's a lot of fun stuff too. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for joining me today and talking about all this stuff. I mean, you are amazing women and entrepreneurs, and I'm just excited to see how you're embracing the storm and getting through all of it, because I think and motherhood too. I mean, I think we are all mothers of young kids, so this is, I mean, could we get a babysitter?
Oh, I mean, guys.
One of the things that, like,
that's so good.
I mean, over a month ago, like back in February, one of the things that like was so difficult is I have two, and so getting both of them ready in the morning, sometimes like I get to work and I'm exhausted, and I haven't even started my actual work. It was just exhausting to like get up and like get myself ready and answer a couple emails and get them to school and then the daycare for the other one. And I would love that option right now. Be that exhausted. So kudos to you guys making it work as working moms and families without the support, and just finding ways to support each other and the other vendors and everybody else. Because Tani, I think we, as an event industry, as opposed to some other industries, I think we all come together really well and do collaborate more than we are competitive, because you just can't survive. You know, I think there's a lot of us that are entrepreneurs, and we build those relationships, whether we both do corporate or we both do weddings or what have you. It's really the success is of those relationships too. So what better time to foster them even more than now? So
Definitely.
yeah. All right, ladies. Well, thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Happy Friday. Have a good weekend. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.